Hello, I'm Colette and welcome to Witch Ways. Today I'm talking about the holiday of Lammas, which is one of the 8 holidays of the Wiccan Wheel of the Year. And I'm going to be talking about some magic that you can do for Lammas. I'd love it if you would put your comments below about the kinds of traditions and rituals that you do at Lammas as well. And I want to thank everyone who contacted me when I said last week that I had COVID. I'm still recovering and my computer is now on the fritz as well. So this video is going to be a little less picture and video dense than normal. I'm just going to talk and record it on my phone. All right, welcome and enjoy. So Lammas was traditionally celebrated around the 1st of August. It was in actuality the midpoint between the peak expansion of the sun at summer solstice and the fading of the leaves at autumn equinox. It's a golden time when the first fruits are celebrated. And traditionally, it was a time when the first of the grain was harvested in Western European countries. The name Lammas comes to us from the church tradition of co-opting pagan holidays and naming them something else, but it was named after loaf mass, like a loaf of bread, and mass for the bread loaves. And the older name, Lunasa, which is Lughnassad, is named after the sun god Lu, the multi-talented god, the dying one, the god who had so many talents that he was universally recognized everywhere he went. Also, patron god of local, county, and state fairs where we celebrate our agricultural bounty. Lughnassad literally means the death of Lu, and he was a golden god, and as I said, he was very multi-talented. It's the time of the year when we celebrate the first achievements, when our labor is starting to pay off, when the things that we've worked really hard on aren't harvested yet, but you can see that they're starting to take on a life of their own. And so the kind of magic we do is all about celebrating first fruits. So it can be agricultural in terms of making offerings to the land for the bounty of the land, or it also can be personal recognition. And as I said before, when I joked about Lu being the patron god of county fairs, we still hold that tradition in our culture at this time of year where we celebrate at local fairs the bounty of the land. And Lu, in fact, started a tradition of fairs to celebrate the harvest all around Ireland, and with the caveat that they be dedicated to whatever local goddess was worshipped in the area. So, what kind of magic can you do at Lammas? I think for personal rituals, as I mentioned, achievement rituals, honoring the skills that you have, having acknowledgement and gratitude ceremonies for your personal resources, giving away or sharing wealth ceremonies, coming out rituals are really awesome. Anything that honors acquired skills. I think a really great piece of personal magic for people to do is to bring the fruits of their garden and then leave them in a public place as an offering for those who don't have enough food or resources. I also think making offerings for the birds with seeds and grains is really nice. And you can also honor your own garden by creating an altar in your garden itself and doing some magic around just giving back. Maybe taking a moment to charge some water with gratitude by pulling the energy up from below and down from above into your body, letting it expand in your heart, and then run down your arms and hands and into a pail or bucket of water. Then just take that water and sprinkle it around your garden and create an altar in the middle of your garden with things of beauty on it and with flowers, particularly heads of grain or yellow and gold flowers. Straw flowers are really nice because they represent that sun's energy changed to memory, because straw flowers dry in that nice open form, and they stay really beautiful and last forever. So I think straw flowers are really nice, and they do come in the sun's colors. And traditionally, the rituals in Western Europe involved tying the first or last bundle of grain and harvesting it and tying it into a sheaf. And this was sometimes seen as a representation of the dying god of Lu himself, or other dying local sun gods, because this is the time of year where you really do start to feel that slight bit of breeze that is rattling in the leaves. The leaves are just a little more leathery. They're not quite as like translucent green as they are earlier in the summer. So another thing you can do is you can make a corn dolly. And I'm not going to demonstrate that on YouTube today, but there are a lot of videos on how to make a corn dolly. And for those of you who are curious, the word corn in its European roots did not mean what we think of today as corn. What we think of today as corn is a grain of Mesoamerica, which is corn. And in Europe, the word corn really meant any grain that was local to an area. It is derived from the word kernel or kern, corn. So corn dollies are just about taking a whole bunch of grain and turning it into a figure through braiding. And you can find lots of videos about that on YouTube. Sometimes that traditional sheaf that was tied up was cut and paraded through the town, sometimes carried by children. Sometimes it was left in the center of the fields or just left standing as an offering to the gods, to just leave that sheaf of wheat or grain there. Sometimes it was the very first one was not touched. Sometimes it was the last one. And this concept was often talked about as giving John Barleycorn his due. And the concept of John Barleycorn is a more modern concept that represents the dying sun god. And his name lived on in popular ballads, even in today in union ballads and workers' ballads, as the martyred or sacrificed one who gives his life for the good of the community, the God who dies only to be reborn. Another personal favorite thing that I like to do is to just bake a simple loaf of bread. And I often don't have time to make a whole big yeast loaf where I let the bread rise. But if you do, that's great. And you can divide the loaf into 3 strands and braid it so that it looks like a head of grain, and eat that and share that with friends, especially with honey. But another thing I like to do is just make a quick loaf, which is using eggs and baking soda and barley flour or wheat flour, whatever kind of flour you do, and making that into a quick loaf that just bakes in about half hour to 40 minutes and is a lot quicker to prep. So I hope that you enjoy Lammas this year and enjoy celebrating it with your friends, making offerings to your community. I think it's a good time to make donations to local mutual aid societies. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. Be well.